I was born in Fort Ashby, West Virginia, 1973, which makes me 41 years old. I grew up in a really small town with one stoplight and an ice cream parlor in the corner, which was like the big thing to do then in the summer. I have one sister, Jenny, who is 43. I went to Frankfurt High School and really liked art class and came to realize I was pretty good at creative things. That's where I sort of found my niche. I waited to go to college until I was 20 actually. I moved to Pittsburgh and I attended the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. My major was visual communications. After I was there for a while, I realized that it wasn't really what I was into. I probably should have gone to college for fine art. There was a lot of rendering and that type of thing, which I really wasn't into, but also kind of used that as an excuse to move away from my small town to really like be who I was, kind of like to find myself. I ended up dropping out of art school. During art school, I really didn't have a lot of funding from my parents or anything, so I was working full-time plus going to art school, and then after realizing that I probably was going for the wrong thing, I ended up dropping out. I moved back to West Virginia with my tail between my legs because I felt like the city had like beat my ass, so to speak. I lived there for a few years and had a pretty good time, but I kept in contact with Jennifer Brown, who is my good friend at the Art Institute. She was originally from Ohio, closer to Fort Wayne in Hicksville, and through communication, calling each other letters and such, we determined that we missed each other so much that she was going to come live in West Virginia with me. After a few years of being there, we decided to make a giant change and move to Fort Wayne, simply because it was near her hometown, and she told me that there were tons of restaurants here in Fort Wayne. I had been doing restaurant work for a while, moved to Fort Wayne, got a job at Bagatelle, which is now Chops. Worked there for a few years, continued to make friends and kind of create a life for myself. About 11 years ago, I met my partner Leonard at the bar, at the gay bar. We kind of hit it off and started seeing each other. Eventually, he moved in with me. Right now, we're at our house. Leonard and I have been together for 11 years. It'll be 12 years in the springtime. I never really thought that I would end up in Indiana, but because of the job situation, I kept getting better jobs and kind of paying attention and getting promoted, and I ended up where I am now at Club Soda, where I've been the chef for about 8 years, but been there for about 11. Since I lived in Fort Wayne, I kind of put off the whole art thing. Kind of got busy with my career and moving on, that type of thing. Most recently, I started painting again a couple summers ago in our backyard. In the past few months, I've done a lot of paintings, more than I could probably have guessed that I would have done. In the spring, I actually entered like 3 or 4 things into an exhibit and found out that I sold one, which I was pretty happy about. Here at our house, I would say that my hobbies are gardening. We put in a vegetable garden in the small part of our front yard that we never really used before. Put raised beds in. Planted vegetables, which is kind of a learning experience because some of them grew and some of them didn't. My cucumbers grew 8 feet high and then ended up getting killed by some bug or fungus. After I started painting again, I realized it was something that I feel like I kind of missed out for that decade or so where I didn't do anything, because when I'm involved in a painting or a drawing or whatever it is, even gardening, I kind of lose myself to the point that I feel free of the stresses that I have in my daily life. Sometimes I feel like perhaps I maybe not made a mistake, but kind of got veered off onto a different path with the cooking, because even though it's like a creative outlet for me, the painting kind of feels more tangible
and more real for me.
This is Leonard, my husband.
Right. That's bad. Turn that off.
We got married on October 17th, 2014. There was a few days, a month or so prior, that it became legal in Indiana, and we had talked about on that following Monday going to get married, but in that time they had put a stay on it, which kind of disappointed us because we planned on getting married. But anyhow, we went down to the courthouse and got married. As far as the future for me, I would say this is it. We've been working on our house since we moved in and trying to make it our own. Being together, we have 2 cats that we love.
Yes.
Our children. Leonard's back. In my teens, I felt like I was traveling on a road and I didn't quite know where I was going. In my 20s, I kind of felt like I knew everything. In my 30s, I realized that I didn't know shit about anything. And here I am in my 40s, and I have to say that my travels have taken me to a positive, happy place.